Hi, welcome back. It's been a hot minute since I've posted anything, and I do apologize, but it's been a very busy semester. I do teach 4 days a week this year, so I've got a lot on my plate. But I did want to post this quick video because I'm really curious what's going to happen. So as you might know, my training is in environmental science, and so typically I'm a pretty big fan of doing what we can to reduce our environmental impact. And if you buy a motorcycle in the United States today, there are a lot of emissions regulations, mostly regulated by the EPA. And what that translates to is there's equipment on most modern motorcycles meant to reduce our emissions and clean up our emissions. And usually what that means is some sort of charcoal canister or EVAP system, and then also some sort of secondary air injection system or PAIR system. Now on the CRF300L, both of these things exist, and they are meant to meet certain EPA requirements. Now, personally, because of my training and because I care about my emissions, I am one of those folks that kind of just says, look, man, don't mess with it. It's on there for a reason, for a good reason. We're trying to be good stewards. Leave it on there. It weighs practically nothing. In my opinion, it doesn't affect the performance of the motorcycle. So don't mess with it. And besides, if you ever want to sell the bike or trade it in and you've ripped something out, now you got to deal with putting it back in. Now, I fully understand and respect that there's an entire camp of motorcyclists out there who say, heck with that. It does affect the performance of my bike. It's extra weight. I don't like the stuff. And also kind of just like sticking it to the man, right? They don't want to do what the EPA says. It's sort of like, you can't tell me what to do. So I get that. And I get that some people just want to take it off, and that's fine. That is your right to do that. I know I typically leave all my emissions equipment on. However, and this is where we get to the video, is I have been having some performance issues with the 300L, and based on some cursory research, it's possible that those problems are a result of my charcoal canister. There's a seemingly known issue with dropping the CRF300L or going over very rocky terrain with full gas tank causes liquid fuel to make it into the charcoal canister, which then messes it up and causes misfires and stalling and other issues. It does seem like multiple people have reported this issue, including myself. I have footage of me stalling out going up Schnebley Hill Road. She stalled again. I want to see if maybe it's the charcoal canister, but I don't want to remove it. It's in there good. I don't want to be cutting rubber and cutting other things and doing huge surgery on the bike if I ever want to sell it. I don't mind that it weighs a pound. I just want to bypass it. So that's what I wanted to do today. I want to show you that what I've done is I've bypassed my charcoal canister very simply. I didn't even disconnect it electrically. I just bypassed the fuel component of it to see what happens. I want to see if it A, triggers a check engine light, and B, if after riding it for 6 months, if I ever get another stalling issue on rocky terrain. So normally I will give you this caveat. If you do this, it probably will trip a check engine light. The bike is meant to look for that system, and if you have it disconnected funny or wired wrong, it's going to trip an error. However, because I installed the aftermarket 550 Performance ECU, that is programmed to not trigger if I unplug the charcoal canister. So this is kind of a nice positive side effect of installing that ECU, and as long as I have it in, I should be able to bypass it. And then this also means if I ever want to put the factory ECU back in, it's really easy for me to reconnect the system. So what I've done is I've taken the fuel line that goes to the EVAP system into it and the fuel line that goes out of it, and I've simply spliced them together so that basically any fuel coming out of the tank just completely skips the charcoal canister and just vents out to atmosphere. And then all that meant is I just had to plug off the 2 pins. And so if you want to see what that looks like, here's the charcoal canister right here. You can see there's that small pin right there on the canister, and the fuel line that was going into it has now been routed to the other side. I'll show you what that looks like. If you look at this side, you can now see there is a hose connected to another hose with a little hose connector, and it just vents now down out to the bike. So that's all I've done, is I've simply bypassed the canister. I didn't even unplug it electrically, right? So it's still there, it's still doing its thing. I just haven't messed with it in any other way. All I want to do today is take the bike out, since it's a nice day, and see what happens. See if it feels like it's riding funny, see if I get a check engine light, see if there's any noticeable difference, and if not, I'm going to keep it like this. And then once the weather gets a little bit warmer, I'm going to start taking the bike on some really rough terrain and see if we get any sort of stalling issues. So, all right, let's see if she fires up all right. Right up, okay. Let's make sure there's no check engine light. No check engine. Let's see how things feel. Feels normal so far. It does seem to be running just fine. No weird sputtering or fluttering. And so far, no engine light. And that's a good thing. All right, well, I think the verdict is clear. If anything, the bike seems to be running a little better, but it's probably just some confirmation bias kicking in there, but that's all right. At least for now, it's not running any worse, but it seems like it's working fine right now. Bike is idling well, and I think we're good. So there you have it.